This is a follow-up to the campground pizza video. This time we're going to make gluten-free. So we're basically following the recipe on the back of the bag of flour. We're going to start with 800 grams of water. And I've actually used a little bit less water. I've got 775. I kind of tweaked the recipe a little bit. Here is 20 grams of yeast, just Fleischmann's yeast. I'm going to put that in the water. And the water was just cold, room temperature water. Wasn't anything warm. Now we're going to add the flour. We're going to mix up the yeast to kind of get it blended in the water some. And we're going to add the gluten-free flour. This is the Caputo Fiore Glut, which is Italian for gluten-free. Put this in the blender, in the stand mixer, and we're going to mix it up. So we're going to speed this up a little bit so you don't have to watch the whole thing mixing. So as it gets blended, we're going to add our salt. We've got, let that get blended in. After it's blended, you add your oil. And I added 40 grams of salt and 40 grams of oil. Like I said, I tweaked the recipe a little bit from the back, but mix that up. It's a real sticky dough, but mix it well. And then once it's all mixed, you can see how kind of sticky it is. We're going to get it out of the mixing bowl, and we're going to put it into, weigh it out into individual dough balls. So we're going to try to get about 300 grams per dough ball. And you can see how sticky that stuff is. So what we're going to do is we're going to have some extra gluten-free flour on the side to help with our hands and with, not sticking to anything. If you don't have any extra gluten-free flour, you could use cornstarch, rice flour, any other gluten-free, flour product. So we got our little scale, and we're weighing them out into 300-ish grams for each dough ball. And we'll speed this up a little bit so you don't have to watch everything in slow motion doing this. So you're going to get all these weighed out, and then we're going to roll them into dough balls just like we did on the previous time. And once you get them all weighed out and portioned and ready to go, we're going to actually wrap them in some plastic wrap to put into the refrigerator overnight. And if you want to, you can put those straight into the freezer. If you're not going to cook, obviously, 6 dough balls or 6 pizzas, you can freeze whatever you don't use and put them straight into the freezer and then use them when you're ready to use them. Defrost them the day before and then use them as you're ready. So here we're just rolling them up, getting them into a tight little ball. Use the extra flour to keep it from sticking to your hands, sticking to the work surface, because that dough is very sticky. Here we're wrapping them up, getting them ready to get into the refrigerator so that we can put them in the refrigerator overnight, and we'll be ready to cook tomorrow. And of course, you don't have to have the industrial size plastic wrap like we do, but we just happen to have that. Here they're all wrapped, ready to go into the fridge. And we'll be cooking pizza tomorrow. All right, today we're going to make some gluten-free banh mi pizza. So this is the dough after you have taken it out of the freezer, after you've taken it out of the refrigerator. I've had this in the refrigerator overnight. This is some extra gluten-free flour. Secret to this is make sure it's cold. Otherwise, it's really hard to work, really sticky. And don't be shy to put a little extra flour on there. So we're going to press this out into our pizza. Trying to leave a little rim for the crust. Trying to get it as thin as you can get it without it breaking. Remember, this is gluten-free, so you can't pick this thing up and spin it, or else it'll break on you. So I need a little more. So I'm not making a giant pizza with this. This was about a 300-gram dough ball. So by the time this is said and done, it's probably a 10, 11-inch pizza. So you see how that's stuck? Let me get my peel here. This pizza is very hard to work, so make sure it's cold and make sure you use plenty of flour. I'm using a marble tile that I got from the tile store to work on. I'm going to put this on the peel to make it a little easier for me to get into the oven. You see, it's not easy to work. Make sure it slides before you get too far ahead of yourself, like I'm doing. Alright, I'm using a sriracha mayo as my sauce. Spread it on here. Don't go too far to the edge so you can have a crust. I guess unless you don't like crust, then you can put it all the way. Jalapeno. This is some pork that I've pre-cooked a little bit. It'll finish cooking inside the oven. Into the oven we go. Make sure it still slides, otherwise you're going to have a mess. A little odd shape, but it's still going to be delicious. Okay, so we've sped up the video a little bit. This is a new pizza oven that we've got. That's the Ardore. Got this thing from Italy. This pizza oven is currently at about 850, 900 degrees cooking this thing. It's going to be in here for about a minute and a half. So once it comes out, it's looking good. Just got to spin it around a couple times, make sure it gets browned evenly all around the sides. And we're just about done. So now what we're going to do is we're going to finish it off. A little cilantro and some pickled carrots. You could also add cucumber, which is traditional, but we don't have any cucumber at the moment. And here you have banh mi pizza, gluten-free.